So good morning. We're starting a little bit late because I've just been hanging out with these wonderful family members, and this is the Better Each Day program. So we do a podcast every week. I think we're about 20, almost 30 weeks into our podcast. So thank you for being here. And if you can't be here with us live and you see me holding the phone here, it's because I'm doing something new today. I'm actually doing a live audio podcast on Facebook to the group at the same time when we're doing a Zoom call here. So, trying to multitask. I've got my super Dub shirt on today. How many of you tried Dub, or how many have seen me use Dub over the last couple of years? Anybody seen that? No? Okay. So, Dub video is probably the thing that has helped me scale my business greater than anything else, being able to communicate. And that's the whole thing. We're all limited with an amount of time. How can we communicate most of the content that we talk about with prospects and clients? We have a limitation because we say 80% of the same thing over and over and over again. So you can take that, record it, and be able to share that with individuals through video, through email, through SMS, online, however you want to do it. And that way it allows them to get to know you, get to know different parts about you, your business, what you're interested in, where your story of origin is, what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and all of that's super important, but it allows them to access that on their time, not on yours, so that when you get together with them, guess what? You only have to focus on whatever is the novel situation that the individual themselves needs to know about that you can help solve. So it really compresses and helps you gain scale, more ability for you to serve better at a greater scale. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? So I did a podcast with Ruben Dua, which is amazing. A guy, he created the technology. So he interviewed me on their podcast about 2 months ago, and they sent me all this cool stuff, what do you call it? Swag pack. So one of it included the shirts. So I'm like, it's a little bit of like a superhero shirt because I can't remember. He said out of 5,000 of their clients, I've had the privilege to get the highest click-through rate with all those different clients because I use the video content regularly. So you get almost every email from me. What does it have on it? It has video, right? Because why? People don't like reading text. They're boring. They've already got too many in their inbox, and they'd rather do what? They'd rather get a video from you. Because when you give people video, what happens is you're able to not just communicate the concept, because black and white text is only 10% of the communication spectrum. But when you can actually give people voice and you can give people video, then you're communicating dynamically. And that's why one-on-ones, when you're working with someone standing on a platform, talking to a group, or even video like this in Zoom, that allows you to have that dynamic communication. That's why it works so well, where just sending, text does not. So anyway, it's a great tool, something that I love doing. I was really privileged to be on there. So that, I guess I'm sharing, is what I'm grateful for right now, is the ability to learn new concept, new technology, to be able to use it, because that way I can serve people better by being able to communicate at scale as opposed to kind of linear. Does that make sense? So what we do on Better Each Day when we get here is we always focus on our gratefulness. Our gratefulness changes our mindset from not focusing on the past or fearing about the future, fretting, worrying, or whatever, helps us get centered in the moment. And we do that by being grateful. So what we always do is a gratitude roundtable. We talk about something that we're grateful for, kind of like what I was sharing with you right now, but I got a different edge for you today. So if you've heard me on the different podcasts before, if you've listened to the replays, you've heard me talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza. How many of you heard me talk about him? Yep. Jim, you've heard me? Yep. Alan, I'm sure you've heard me. And probably Sabrina. Yes? No? You haven't heard me talk about Dr. Dispenza. So Maga? Yes? No? Yeah, Magas, you've heard me. Okay. So the key thing about Dr. Dispenza's perspective is really, really interesting. Hey, David, good to see you, my friend. Glad you were able to jump in. So one of the things about Dr. Dispenza's perspective is when you're doing your meditation every day, you don't just meditate in the moment, but he's got a unique perspective, is you actually go forward in the future to the event that you want to create as your perfect outcome, okay? The thing that you write about in your journal that we talk about in our compass that we'll do on the next of our, so this is a 3-segment program. So we'll do on the next second program, we'll talk about the compass. I actually just upgraded mine this morning, and just finished my work this morning. I just redid mine. So every week you redo that, and we'll talk about and get your Q&A on the next session, on the next section of this. And how you're able to do this is going through Dr. Dispenza's program. It's not just thinking about your perfect future. Aristotle taught Alexander the root basis of the whole Better Each Day program is be as you wish to seem. So when you focus on becoming that better version of yourself that you wish to seem, what you're doing is rehearsing the outcome in the way you want it to be. So when you do that and you think about that future event, you actually put yourself in the event. And what is the key thing that you should do with your imagination? If you've been on any of the calls before, or if you listen to replays, what's the critical element that you absolutely have to have? You think about it? The critical element is that you have to add all the senses to make the future event become magnetic. So that means if you go to the future event, like in my case, I have this perfect home that I am looking at, I want to have in the next 10 years for Amy and I to retire at. And one of the things that I have, because I love the outdoors, I love the mountains, is I'd like to have this home on a piece of property that's got maybe a brook running through it, maybe a river, if I can find something like that. But I love running water. So I want to have something like that, whether it's natural, that would be my perfect environment, or something that's maybe manufactured that just has a waterfall that's going to be running right next to the patio. And running right next to the patio, what is the most important thing that I want on the patio? A fire pit. I love fire pits. And I'm talking about a bigger fire pit where I can actually build a mini bonfire, because that, to me, fire is that cool thing, just the crackling and the smell, the pop, and the atmosphere that it feels with the warmth and just a little bit of the smoke and the smell. So when I go to that place and I put myself in that chair that I'm thinking about, and I'm listening to that brook that's running right next to my patio of this house that I'm living in, that's got glass all across the back because it's looking out into this amazing nature that I have found, right? And I have that crackling fireplace there, and I'm sitting there, and I've got Amy sitting there, and maybe we're having a glass of wine, or maybe my grandson is hanging out with us, and we're having, I don't know, reading a story or talking about something cool that he's interested in. But here's the key thing: the more senses you can activate to be in that moment, the higher the chances, the higher the probability is that you are going to manifest that event. Isn't that cool? So that's what we're going to focus on today, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you go forward to that event that you want to be, which is your perfect outcome from all the work, all the effort that you do, the servant leadership that you're part of, everything that you're doing in your life. I want you to go to that culminating event that you would call a milestone, and get to that milestone. And I want you, if you have to close your eyes so that your imagination really kicks in. And I want you to put yourself in that future version of yourself. And I want you to be able to feel all of the atmosphere that's there. If there are other people there, I want you to hear them talking, having conversation. If it's a place that you want to go, I want you to feel the place. What's the temperature? What are, do you feel a breeze? Is there maybe a little smoke in the environment, like in mine with a fire pit? Can you hear the crackle of the wood, the pop of the fire? Can you hear the water, the brook, running over the rocks or whatever? Does everybody get what I'm talking about here? So why is it important when you look at your future event? Why is it important for you to be able to activate all the senses? Anybody know? Tell me what you've read.
I do.
Go ahead, Sabrina, tell me.
Well, when you think about your future self, you're going to actually, if we go into a scientific realm about, frequencies, you're going to actually draw that to you.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're drawing it to you. That's where the magnetic thing.
By the feeling, the vibrational energy,
Yep.
you're going to attract it.
Right. And so the thing that triggers this vibrational energy that Sabrina is correctly talking about, that scientifically that can be measured, the vibration that creates the greater level of magnetism comes from where? It comes from your imagination. And you've all heard this before, because I know all of us have been a student of personal development. So you've heard, whether it's Tony Robbins or Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar or any of those folks like that, they always talk about your mind doesn't know the difference between what? Reality and your dream imagination. Does it? No. And I can prove this because think about how many times you've had a bad dream, right? And what happens in the bad dream? Can you actually feel the fear? Do you feel like you're in something that you're either running from something or you can't get out of some place and there's something that's chasing you? Has anybody ever had that? Okay, a nightmare, right? Is that real?
Mm.
No. But does your imagination during sleep, does it think the dream is real? Yes or no? It does. And have you ever jumped like this in the middle of one of your dreams and woke yourself up? No? Is it just me? Am I the only crazy person here online?
No, I've done it.
You've done it. Okay. Have you ever gone off a cliff and right when you went off the cliff, like I have before, you actually jump because your mind actually feels that moment of weightlessness. And you're like, wait a second, I'm laying here in my bed. Why did I jump? And I've had things when I used to do competitive fighting all the time. Guess what? I would be fighting in my dreams. And so my arm would move and I would throw a punch, not literally throw the whole punch, but because my imagination was kicked in and I was in a fight and I was in a competition, I would throw that punch and then that part of my body would activate and it'd wake me up. Okay. So the key thing I'm drawing your attention to here, Dr. Dennis Waitley has done a ton of research on this, and it's called visual motor rehearsal. And that is the fact is when you put yourself in your imagination is actually the engine, if you will, that interprets what? Reality. So the world you live in right now, the temperature you feel on your skin, the scent you have of maybe the coffee that's sitting right next to you or tea or whatever, um, the feel of your shirt on your shoulders, okay? All of those kind of things like that are interpreted by what? Something. Something's got to tell you in your mind what it feels like to feel the shirt on my shoulder, right? To feel the hand that's touching the shirt on my shoulder. And all of those are interpreted by what? What's the engine? Your imagination. Your imagination is your interpreting engine of everything in your head. So when you think about the past and you remember, you're pulling a video up maybe or a feeling up that came from where? The past, and you're remembering it through your imagination. Okay? The same thing happens when you are forward in the future and you're fretting about something and you're worrying about something. What happens? You feel it, right? You start breathing in the high part of your chest. You're panting, right? You're not doing that deep, relaxed breathing because why? You're thinking about this event and you're worried about it coming. And if it's something that's going to cause some type of anxiety, right? What happens to you? Or what if it's something that you are worried about in the future and it causes some level of depression? That's real, right? You feel it now, but you're feeling it about what? Something that hasn't even occurred. So how are you feeling that feeling about an event that hasn't occurred yet? You are imagining the outcome in the future, but feeling it in the present. Does that make sense? So the interpretation engine that you are already excellent at using is your imagination. You already know how to create things that actually harm you more than you know how to create things that help you. So we're going to flip this a little bit with Dr. Dispenza's perspective. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on going forward into that future, like the one that I described early on in our event here. And I want you to put yourself in that place. And I want you to notice all of the feelings, the senses, the smell, what you hear. If you can taste something, I want you to jot it all down. But right now, I want you to just experience it now. And here's the key thing. When we're going to go there here in just a second, I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 minutes just to work through this. When you get that perfect environment and you've activated as many senses as you can, then the most important thing to magnetize that event, this is Dr. Joe Dispenza that's measured this scientifically, you're going to give thanks for that event as if you're there. Does everybody understand the assignment? Any questions? No? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the next 2 minutes. You can close your eyes, that's fine. There'll be people here on replay that are going to go, okay, is everybody eyes closed? Yeah, close your eyes. It helps you activate the video, the screen in your mind, and be able to see that. Now, I'm going to give you a quick hint, a tip. When you see that event on the screen in your mind, okay, That means you're disassociated from this future event. Here's a key tip. When you put it on the screen in front of you and you're watching yourself and you're seeing everyone around you or the event or whatever you're creating, I want you to step into the screen, not watch yourself. I want you to be yourself. Does that, everybody understand that? Okay? That means you're going to associate yourself into the actual event, not disassociate by watching yourself on the screen. Does everybody get that? It's a little tip. Okay? So 2 minutes, close your eyes, and then when we're done, after you've given thanks, we'll come back here and we'll talk about it. Okay? You ready? So 2 minutes. Okay? As many senses as you can activate. About 30 more seconds. Now that you've got everything from a sense standpoint, I want you to just give a moment. Maybe it's a prayer that you want to whisper or that feeling of gratefulness. And we're back. All right. So, who wants to share how this made you feel? Go ahead, Alan.
So you and I have very similar dreams, very similar desired outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Northern California along the Sierra Nevada mountains, and to me, that is my idea of paradise. So you almost primed me for what I had envisioned is a cabin in the woods, and I'm just visualizing, cooking some venison that we had hunted. I could taste it. I could hear that crackling of the fire. I visioned myself playing guitar, and then when mentioned to say a prayer of thankfulness, I'm visualizing my wife and I singing worship songs, and she also knows how to strum a guitar, and so that was very nice.
Wow, how cool is that? Now, when you're singing with you're singing obviously with a guitar, can you actually feel your fingers on the chords?
I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I did have a vision of my fingers on the strings.
Okay. So when you do this next time, now that you do this, every time you go back to this place, okay, this future event, you can work on evolving more senses. So what you got this time, next time you go back in there, you're like, okay, so if I'm playing the guitar, what song would I be playing, and what are the chords I would actually be touching with my fingers on the deal? Because that's activating all the imagination into the reality. Does that make sense? And I'm just
Oh
giving
yeah.
you a little tip, just everything that you can do. Okay, awesome. Great job, Alan. Anybody else want to share what happened? Oh, hang on.
I will. I was thinking about one of my mentors that always invites me down to Miami, Florida. And so I was kind of imagining me on stage with her and her giving me some amazing ideas to scale up my business.
Wow. Okay.
And another one of my mentors in Scotland.
Okay.
Um like business ideas and raising capital
Sure.
and funding. So I kind of have mentors all over the world. So I was thinking kind of globally,
Sure.
like, that sort of thing. And
Okay.
then I came to a place just playing golf on the beach and having a beach house.
Ah, okay. So you're playing golf. Okay, so think about it when you're playing golf. Let's say you're on the tee box. Can you actually feel how you're placing your hands actually on the grip for what do you use? You use 1 wood or 2 wood off the tee?
Well, I was thinking about like the wind on my
Okay.
face and
Okay.
my hair blowing
Sure.
and that
Sure.
sort of thing, and the
Okay.
wind
Everything
and
that you can
just
do.
driving around and then kind of looking over like on the beach and the water and hearing the waves and
Okay. So you're doing really good on the hearing the waves. Okay, so there's your hearing and feeling the wind blowing and stuff like that, right? Can
Mhm.
you actually smell the ocean? That's if you can't, think about it and try that next time. That's adding another sense. You follow me?
I could hear the ping of my um my golf ball.
There you go. Okay, there's the sound again. Sure. So there, anything that you can do, on the courses I've been on before, every one of them has, I don't know, some of them have more trees, some of them have more xeriscaping or whatever. So there's actually a particular scent that you pick up, especially early in the morning. Everything, the dew is still out there and everything's fresh. And of course, you can hear like the birds or whatever. Everything
Yeah,
that
the
you,
birds. Yeah.
everything that you add to it actualizes that. So that's the point Dr. Dennis Waitley was talking about when he was working with the NASA astronauts and then ended up working with our U.S. Olympiads, is that they activate all of those senses. They actually activate each one of those. So if you're standing on the stand putting the gold on you while you're number one in whatever class that you performed in, you want to feel what does it feel like when you're having that ribbon placed around you. You feel the weight of the gold hit your chest, okay? And you
Oh,
feel that what? That moment that all those 10,000 hours of agony and work and boring exercises and constantly pushing yourself and not being able to quote have fun and doing all those things that were necessary, um, you you miss those for what? You sacrifice those so that you could do what? Stand here now and feel that gold on your chest. Here's the deal: if you can't activate what it feels like to have that ultimate culmination, what will happen along those 10,000 hours of constant practice, pain, agony, suffering, deprivation? What's going to happen?
You're likely to convince yourself that you didn't really want it that bad.
There you go. You got to come up with an excuse that the outcome in the goal really wasn't worth the pain. That's all it is. Everything that's an achievement in life is about how much pain you can suck up. Sorry, if you haven't figured that out already, it's it's the oddity of our world. Okay, one of these days we can have a talk with the Creator and say, "Why did you do that?" But that's just the way it is. Everyone that has achieved anything that has value to it, whether it's a relationship with their child, whether it's a relationship with someone else, whether it's achievement in business, whether it is an athletic level of performance, they all require what? Giving up something that you might prefer to do, which is convenience, luxury, lackadaisicalness, for getting that long term outcome, which is that awesome relationship, which is that outlier experience. Those don't come by accident. I'm sorry. They come by dedication and focus and being willing to give up the things that are convenient and easy to enjoy those things down the road that are exceptional. That's why you have to let go of the good things in life, let them fail in order to do what? To achieve those things that are great. Everybody with me? All right, so here's what we're going to do. How many of you have time to go to the next 30-minute segment on the masterclass? Okay, cool. Then here's what I need to do. I'm going to, the next segment, we're going to actually jump on and we're going to work on the compass. I'm going to end this section. How many of you have the link that'll take you to the next section? Because we actually close this one on and go to the next one. If you don't, I can bring it up right now and I'll give you that link. There we go. I'm going to drop this in the chat right now. There you go. And I make sure everybody's got it. Has everybody got it? Once you have it, then I'm going to go ahead and end this one, and I'll see you back here in 30 seconds.